what all will be doing in this class. Okay, let's have the smallest holistic idea. And in Intune, what all we'll touch, what all technologies that we're going to touch, okay, related to Intune. Okay, we're going to talk about first thing. Okay, we're going to talk about Azure Active Directory. Okay, you need not know a lot about Azure Active Directory, a little bit about Azure Active Directory, especially on the users and devices part, you should be good at. Okay, if you understand this much to start with, it's good. Next is the way to log into this Azure Active Directories. Okay, is portal.azure.com. From here also you can log in. Next, you have your Intune. Okay, so we'll be using endpoint.microsoft.com. Okay, now third one is Windows 10 operating system. Okay, and fourth one is will be relating to SCCM. So to take up this course, the prerequisite, you should know SCCM. Okay, you should know SCCM already. Okay, because we'll be relating to SCCM a lot. Okay, now I have already created the instance for this lab. Okay, where I will be sharing, okay, for each one of you, okay, your Intune administrator credentials. Okay, I'll be giving you Intune administrator credentials, so you can log into your instance, okay, after the class is done. Okay, and you can change the password accordingly. Okay, because login last for you to change the password. Okay, and after about 13 days, you have to enable the multi-factor authentication for your, through your phone, so that you can access this lab. Okay, and this lab will be valid for about 3 months, and you can also later create the lab on your own. Okay, I'll also teach you at the end of the class how to create your own lab as well. Okay, so all these things we will touch during the duration of the class. Now, first and the foremost, how Microsoft is depicting is they are trying to bring Intune, they're trying to bring Intune as the equivalent to SCCM in the cloud platform. So what happens is your SCCM is on-premise and your Intune is cloud. So in most of the sales calls that Microsoft is pitching, or the way they are marketing your Intune is, this is an SCCM equivalent to, but in the cloud platform. But honestly, guys, it is far, it's really far away from becoming an SCCM equivalent, because so many features are not there and so many features are being added. By the time we start this class and by the time we complete this class, there could be additional 4 or 5 features added. So by the time next time you come and attend the same class, it will be little different. Okay, now let us see the main difference between SCCM and Intune to start with. Okay, give me a second. Let me open up this slide for you. 1 second. So first, let's look into Intune versus SCCM. If you look here in this slide, what are you seeing? You're seeing something called as Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So what is the story behind this? So what happened was before 2019, SCCM was part of a suite called System Center suite. Okay, and later in 2019, they rebranded it SCCM as MECM, Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, and also they bought in Microsoft Intune. Okay, and together they made it as a single product called Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So under Microsoft Endpoint Manager, you have your MECM, that's nothing but your SCCM. Under that, you have your Intune. So why is Microsoft having two products to achieve the same thing? So even Intune also deploys the application. Intune also deploys patch, does the patch management. Intune also, SCCM also does the application deployment. SCCM also does the patching. But why do we have two different products under the same company, right? Now what's happening is SCCM is, as I said, is an on-premise. Okay, MEC Intune is cloud. Now, if you see here on the network side, what's happening? Okay, so in SCCM you have regional distribution points, you have your branch cache, you have your peer cache, which will actually reduce the bandwidth. Okay, it will actually reduce the bandwidth dependency or the bandwidth dependency, or consuming more bandwidth during an installation. The same thing in Intune, we call it as delivery optimization. I'm going to talk about a lot about delivery optimization in my future classes as well. Now, when it comes to Intune, before we implement, there is a lot of planning that you have to do. So by the time you do an activity, the activity has to be put inside a checklist, and the checklist has to be properly scrutinized, and you have to do a test deployment and then see if it's all working fine, and then you go for a production deployment. Now let us look at the difference, okay, between Intune and SCCM in various features. Okay, first let's look into the cost. So both are subscription based. So when I say subscription based, so they are costed per device. Okay, per device or in the production. Okay, or you can do it as per user. Next, when it comes to software patches and updating, there's one important difference that you have to do. So guys, when you go sit inside a call, so what's happening is in these days, a lot of projects are coming on Intune, right? So client wants to know what can Intune do? Can it be like my SCCM? Can it work like SCCM? You should very specifically state to your client that there are some product limitations. So one of the product limitations that you might have to highlight is, okay, as of now, SCCM cannot support third-party patches. Okay, so that's what is happening. And next, so Intune is a portal based. So basically, if you open up your web browser and if you go into endpoint.microsoft.com, you can start using an Intune. But whereas SCCM, you need a console, it lacks the SQL, only then you can start using it. Okay, so what are the additional features? So it can do, so basically in Intune, they can do license management automatically. It can do malware protection. Okay, it's a little bit better when it comes to the licensing part. But whereas in SCCM, you need a local SQL server where you have to run the queries, then get that information in the report, and then you have to send it. Okay, next, when it comes to interaction, as I said, it is a cloud. It is basically portal based. This is console based. Okay, next, what kind of resource that is required to access? For Intune, you just need any machine with a web browser, right? But whereas for SCCM, even for the software to install, you need at least a good configuration, at least a 4 to 8 GB configuration for your software to start installing. Okay, and when it comes to remote features, Okay, in Intune, you can do remote wipes. So basically, remote you can actually re-trigger auto band management you in the Intune console. So there are different methods you can do that, which I'm going to teach you. Okay, there is wipe. Okay, all those things I'm going to teach you. Whereas in SCCM, the remote you need anti-certificate profiles, VPN, remote control feature has to be enabled within your SCCM console. So what I want you to also understand in the duration of the classes, you should clearly know the product limitations of Intune so that you can set the right expectations with your client when you get into a call. Okay, implementing anything in Intune it is pretty fast, but planning for it, understanding the client environment, what feature to leverage in Intune to use in your client environment, all those things you have to plan accordingly, especially depending on the user behavior. Is my user using his personal computer to access the company resources, or is my user using corporate resources to access my devices? So you should understand how they are logging in. Is my user using shared locations and all those things? So there are many things that you might have to take into consideration before you plan for Intune, okay, within your environment. Okay. Now, any questions on SCCM versus Intune, guys? Am I clear? Ranjit, any questions from your side?
Oh, it's clear. Clear.
Okay. Okay. Now, next important thing that I want you guys to understand, okay, is Intune licensing. Very, 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 very important. You need to know what kind of a license your client is having. Okay, so very clearly understand this. Okay, so that you will know what features can be enabled in your Intune and what features you cannot enable in your Intune. It all depends on what license they hold. Okay, now let me share the details with you very clearly. Along with the costing, I'm going to share the details. So holistically, we can divide Intune licensing into three types. First type, okay, is called device only subscription. Second type is Microsoft Enterprise Mobility plus Security EMS. Third type is Microsoft 365. Which is the first one? Device only subscription. Second one is Microsoft Enterprise Mobility plus Security. And third one is Microsoft 365. Now, what is there under this? Let me explain to you. Okay, under Microsoft Enterprise Mobility and Security, we normally call it as EMS. There is E3 and E5, and the same way as M365, we have E3 and E5. Now let's go and see what each of these will do. Okay, and also I would like to highlight for governments. Okay, for governments, they have a separate. Just a second. For governments, we have a separate method. So how does it work for government? So they have something called as Microsoft 365 Government G5, Microsoft 365 Government G3. Then, if people who want to learn, it's about for schools. It is Intune for education. Okay. Now, for us in the corporate world, okay, we normally concentrate mostly on M365 E5, M365 E3. Enterprise Mobility Security E5, Enterprise Mobility Security E3. These are the things which we mostly concentrate on. So let me tell you, there are, let me talk about these three categories of device only subscription, EMS and M365. On a simple word, what is this device only subscription? Before I even start this, not many companies buy this. Okay, not many companies buy this. Okay, if you see here, the cost of it is only $2. Okay, the cost of this is only $2, and this license applies. This license applies, remember, per device. There are a lot of limitations in this license. What are the limitations? Okay, it doesn't have Azure AD Premium P1. So basically, it does not have Azure AD Active Directory Premium P1 or P2. So since it does not have Azure AD Premium, okay, it cannot feature, it cannot do an auto enrollment using for your MDM. So auto enrollment feature cannot be done. So basically in SCCM we create collections, no, the query collections like that. We have something called as dynamic groups in Intune. Okay, that you cannot create. Okay, so normally device only subscription is only $2, but not many people use, not companies don't actually use this. At least in my experience, none of my clients have this. Okay, next, let's talk about Microsoft Enterprise Mobility plus Security EMS. So, what is this Microsoft Enterprise Mobility plus Security EMS E3? Very simple. This is a standalone version. Okay, it does not have your Office, it does not have your OneDrive, all those things are not there. Okay, what this will have, this will just have, let me take up a simple notepad. 1 second, guys. So let me give you a simple idea. Okay, let me talk about E3 first. So what will be there in E3 is, so this will basically have your all basic requirements. That is your, it will give your Azure Active Directory, okay, Premium P1. It will give you that. Okay, so if you have Azure Active Directory Premium P1, basically it can do the auto enrollment. You can do the so you can get the assignment groups and everything. The cost of this is just $10.60. Okay, $10.60 for user per month. So if you have 1,000 plus users, okay, for each user you have to pay, say, $10.60 into 1,000. Hello. Sorry, guys. I just lost my network connectivity. Now I'm back. Okay. Am I audible? Can somebody respond, please?
Yes, Kishore.
Yes,
Hello? Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Now, I was talking about the E3 license. Next is the E5 license. See, guys, we're not talking anything about technical. Okay, it's all basically the procurement and the process. Any project you get into, first thing you have to ask is, what license do we have? What license do these guys hold? Okay, most of the clients have E5 license. Okay, now what will be there? So basically, all the features of your E5. What happens is, here you have all the features of your E3. Okay. Now this is there. You have all the features of E3. That means it has your Azure Active Directory Premium one. Okay. Along with that, here it also has Azure Active Directory P2. Now you might ask me what is the difference between these two. So basically the difference is here in the Azure Active Directory P2 you have something called as Advanced Identity Protection and Privileged Identity Management. That is the only difference. Along with this, okay, they have some Microsoft Cloud App Security features. Which is not there in this. So what happens is, right, clients are very much paranoid about their security, isn't it? So most of the clients now, they try to go for E5. I'll tell you why as well. I'll also show you other things. Okay, so that they, this is kind of a mid-range cost. The cost for this is around $16.40. Look at the difference. Almost $6, close to five point change dollars. Okay, per user, just for these three features. Am I clear, guys? How? I mean, I want you guys to get very clearly the thinking. Okay, what is the difference? I want you guys to know the difference. Understand? Okay, only depending on this doing the activity and all, you can do it later. It's easy. Okay, but understanding these differences is very important. Okay, yes. Next question, next thing. Okay, you have M365. Okay, you have M365 E3. Now this is little bit advanced, guys. Okay, and it very and also little expensive as well. So let me tell you what is there in this M365 E3. Okay, M365 E3. If you see, if you go to Naukri these days, a lot of job openings come as we need Microsoft 365 architects. A lot of job openings for that, and trust me, the pay is very, very crazy. Okay, this M365 E3 hold. Okay, basically it has your Office licenses and your Windows 10 licenses into a single bundle. So basically, for one user, okay, if you buy one M365 E3 license, your Office 365 included, you have your Windows 10 included, along with all the capabilities of your E3, that is your EMS E3. Understanding, guys? Understanding now? So here you saw what all E3, these things. Okay. Basically AAD, E1. Clear now? Simple, isn't it? Now let us see what will E5 have. Okay, what will M365 E5 have? Okay, very simple. For one user, it will have Office 365, your Windows 10, all the capabilities of EMS E5. Okay, all the capabilities of EMS E5. Yes. Along with this, you also get my personal favorite, analytics with Power BI Pro, M365 Defender. And you have these built-in features that you get from your AMS, like cloud app security, privileged identity, advanced identity protection, all those things you get. So you get all these things with this. When you talk about the cost for E3, right? I mean 365 E3. Very simple. The cost is for M365 E3 $32, guys. $32 per user per month. And it's absolutely crazy when you go into M365 E5. It's almost close to per user per month. But actually what happens when the costing and all those things, when we talk with the sales team of Microsoft, it's like, buying groceries from the grocery shops. They'll try to throw you so many products, and they'll try to reduce the features, or they give you about 30%, 40% discount and all those things. This is the ideal cost which is published in their website. But by the time it comes to us, it would go down up to somewhere sometimes around $40 or $38 or something like that. Understood, guys, about the licensing part? About especially the licensing part, the takeaway should be what are the capabilities that we have for E5. So normally most of the companies will have E5 licensing. Okay, not M365 E5, EMS 3.5. Okay, this one. Okay, any questions on this, guys? Till now in this part, Premjit, or the other Srikant, or Vatika, or Pradeep, any questions? No questions, man.
So coming to that Power BI part, are we covering Power BI or we're not?
As of now, I have not planned for a Power BI in my courseware, but at the end of the class, we can try. Okay, I have not included that in my courseware because of the licensing constraints. But let me figure out, okay, that one as well.
Sure.
Okay, but I use Power BI a lot with my SCCM, but because of the licensing and all those things, we do free licensing, right? EMS, we are using actually for the lab. What we are doing is we are using EMS E5 license because that comes free. Okay, everything else is actually having a cost.
Okay.
Okay, it's basically a licensing problem. Nothing we can do about it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, let me actually start off with the introduction to Active Directory, that is the Azure Active Directory. Okay, then later we'll go into Intune. And before even I go into Active Directory, let me give you a small idea of how machine comes into the Intune so that you will understand the importance of the Azure Active Directory. Okay, so first what will happen is end user, say imagine Okay, he will be provided with company username and password. So what will happen? He'll be provided with the company username and password. Okay, so in our case, let me take it as say Premjit @Intune course 1.on Microsoft.com. Now what will happen? Okay, as soon as Premjit will log in using into this machine using this particular username and password. Okay, this particular machine. So imagine this as your Azure Active Directory on the cloud. Okay. So what happens? This machine will get enrolled into your Azure Active Directory, and we call it as Azure AD join. Okay, now machine is there in the Active Directory. Now where is this Intune coming into picture? Okay. See, inside Azure Active Directory, Intune is you can even connect AirWatch, you can connect Mobile Ion. Okay, there are so many other MDM competitors that you can actually connect with your Azure Active Directory. But here, what we will do, we are using, since we are learning Intune. Okay, our MDM that we are using is Intune. So let us take. Our MDM that we are using is Intune. Okay, now what will happen once the machine say, let me take the so what we will do is we will enable certain links. Okay, so enable the sync links within Intune, or we could say enrollment links within Intune. So once what happens once we enable, after few minutes, this machine what you see here, okay, the same machine will be seen within your Intune. So the workflow you must understand. First, the machine is there. Okay, the end user is using his username and password. There are many ways this will happen. I'm going to talk very detailed about it tomorrow. Okay, the many ways the machine comes into Intune. But before that, obviously, it will come to your Azure Active Directory. From here, it will come to your Intune. Okay, guys, any question, guys? Hello. Premjit, Shrikant, Vatika, any questions? Pradeep, any question? Guys, come on.
Nothing from my end.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing, Kishore.
The more questions, more better. Okay, I can share a lot of experiences with you guys. Okay. Now, this is your Azure Active Directory, where you will have your users. Okay, I have created only one more user. Okay, Premjit as of now, and I'll be creating a lot of users, whoever is enrolled into the class, and I'll be sharing it so that you can have an Intune administrator access. Okay, then let me go back to Azure Active Directory. So we can create group of users. Okay, just like your user collection within your SCCM. This is like that. Then after this, you can go to devices. Okay, guys, I'm concentrating on whatever is required as of now to start with basics. I don't want to go too advanced on the day one. Okay, then you have devices. So all the devices, basically your Windows devices, your iOS devices, your Android devices, all of those devices will be visible here. We'll start enrolling devices as well. Okay, next comes your company branding. This is the most important thing, guys. Okay, you are actually supposed to configure a company branding. So what will happen is, let me show you. As soon as I set up my Intune network, even in the production, okay, I would have planned automatically for my company branding. Okay, now if I go, see here, after the button is configure. Okay, now in the configure, what's happening? Okay, first thing, as soon as you start with your Azure Active Directories enroll, the AD team will enable the company branding. That is, you should have already given, you should have already spoken to your logo teams or the teams that designs the logos to give you the specific logos within this size. That is 1920 pixels to 1080 pixels. Okay, so 1920 to 1080 pixel, that file size should be less than 300 KB. So these requirements you should give to your designing team. And here I have randomly downloaded few files that will help me to update this. Okay, I have not designed any, but we can do it. Okay, you have to actually talk to your design team and get this information or the file. So let me go ahead and select one file that I have. So here for the background image, I've selected a nice background image. Okay. So whenever you guys try to log in, you'll be seeing all these things. Okay, this is a sign-in page background image. So whenever you try to sign in, you'll be seeing this image going forward. Okay. Next, you have banner logo. Okay. Next, if you have any sign-in page text, so let me tell you, this is a sign-in page text for our Intune class. Normally in the production, only access only using your Intune course 01.on.microsoft.com account. Okay. Any other account used, you will be penalized. Okay, this is sign-in text page. Next, so the background color, it's basically a sign-in page. background color. So how should the color look? So you can give a white background or something. So let me take one nice. Okay, let me Google it up here only. Color code for blue. It will be like 0x000F or something. Yeah, you can take this. Okay, you can put any of these. Very simple. Then you can have a square image logo that you want to see. You want that to look for. So you have a square image logo. See here, this is the, and you have a dark theme logo. So when what happens is when I give you guys your IDs, right, you'll be seeing all these things there. When you try to log in, when the page opens, you'll be seeing all this. So what I will do, I will see. This is the first thing. Okay, as soon as I set up a new environment, first thing is to do the branding. Okay, so that the clients, so that the users know, or the end users know that they're accessing the right set of machines or right tenant. Okay, any questions on this? Any questions on company branding? Guys?
His company brand is every company is handling by through Intune.
Pradeep, you're not very audible.
Company brand is handling by through Active Directory or Intune coming days.
It will be done by the Active Directory team, but since we are doing it in a class, okay, so even we need the branding to be shown, so we have to enable it. Yes. See, when it comes to Intune, right, we'll do a lot of activities. Will be like application deployment, compliance policies, configuration profiles deployment, Windows and autopilot configuration, then creating assignment groups for various requirements. This would be your day-to-day tasks. Then especially onboarding, enrolling the devices. Okay, there's so many enrollment. How will you bring in? Whereas in SCCM you have discovery methods, right? You have Active Directory, system discovery, group discovery, user discovery, like that. For system to get onboard only, there are many methods. Okay, so we'll talk very detail about those methods, and you have to understand those methods very detailedly because you should see which is easier adaptable for your organization. In some organization, group policies will not be working properly. Okay, in some organizations, you'll be having IBM Big Fix or SCCM within the organization. That time you can create a separate package and you can deploy for it to enroll. Like this, there are so many things. Okay.
But coming days,
yes.
In coming days, SCCM is totally going with Intune, or SCCM is going to
No, it is not possible. It is not possible for SCCM to go into Intune because see, I'll tell you, software metering feature is not there. Okay, in Intune. Okay, reporting you need Power BI. Okay, they have to buy a separate license for it, and that license costs you $57. Okay, and what else is there? Rollback administration access is there. That all we can do.
And server
then
patching.
patch management you can't do it. You can't. Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Actually, server patching, we cannot manage servers using Intune. And that is
exactly.
That's a big thing. So to continue with SCCM until some period of time, until Microsoft has to come up with that solution in Intune. Yeah,
so to add on to Jyoti's input, right now we can only manage server hosted in Azure cloud, that is 2019 and above. Okay, that is only Azure hosted servers you can manage, not the on-premise. So for all these things to migrate, at least it will take 6 to 7 years minimum. Okay, so for it to go, so SCCM is going to stay. SCCM is going to have a lot more features. Okay, and that is why Microsoft made anybody using SCCM, Intune licensing is also free for them, right? For so many set of users. Okay, understood, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so branding is done. Okay, now before I proceed, okay, I'm going to share for whoever is in the WhatsApp group, I'm going to share individual username and password separately. Okay, for those of you who have enrolled. Okay, so that you can start accessing, you can start playing with this, understand the look and feel of the console. Okay, then later we'll start doing the lab. So one request for all of you guys is enable Hyper-V in your in your base machines. Okay, install Windows 10 and keep it ready before you come to the next class. As many machines as possible, whenever your machine allows, install so many machines. Okay, so that you can have a lot of test machines to practice. Got it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to do too many things today. Okay, but let me give you a small list of the Intune console. Okay, then we'll go forward. Okay, so basically it looks very tiny, right? Intune console. So now here we have devices, apps for your endpoint security, then you have reports, users and groups, and tenant administration. So let me give you a small just on the tenant administration to start with. So here, if you see this service release, this will keep on automatically keep updating. I have about 250 Intune licenses which I can give, out of which 2 is already assigned, and my MDM authority is Intune. Sometimes you'll find this MDM authority to be your Office 365 or your systems and a configuration manager, but in my name, in our lab, it's going to be Microsoft Intune. Okay, this tenant is hosted in North America, and my tenant name is Intune course1.on.microsoft.com. So let me open up new incognito mode. So if I go to endpoint.microsoft.com, here if I give Kishore.Intune course, see, I have to log in like this. See, I gave that blue color, right? You saw that, guys? Whatever I gave the branding. You're seeing that?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah?
Yes, correct.
So that
correct.
is coming up. Yes. And the banner, whatever I gave, you can design it up however you want. Sign in. For now, stay signed. So this is how you get it. Okay, like this, I'll try to do as many things as possible in the practicals part. Okay, with all the lab limitations which we have, because we just need more resources. Okay, and we will try to replicate as many production scenarios. And we have tomorrow what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about the enrollment methods and how are companies, how are actually the corporate-owned devices, the BOD, how are they visible in your device section. So basically, when it comes to devices, you will see a lot of devices here. Okay, so as soon as you see the look of it, you should be able to say this is corporate-owned, this is BYOD. Okay, this is basically co-managed device. Okay, like that you should be able to say. So we'll discuss about all those things in the tomorrow's class. Okay, now before I close the class, okay, I pretty much covered about today Intune versus SCCM, Intune licensing, branding. Okay, I wanted to do the dashboards, but that will become too much for one day. Okay, to start with, We'll do it tomorrow. Any questions or any visions or any doubt about Intune that you know, I'm going to answer this question.
One question, how we are going to integrate SCCM with Intune, the exact way of integrating SCCM with Intune.
So here in the class, we are not going to do that, but I will tell you exactly how we do it. In the cloud, you're talking about co-management, right?
So is it because of Azure AD was in picture, or?
So, see, the integrating SCCM with Intune, it is called hybrid Azure AD join, right, Srikanth?
Okay.
It's called hybrid Azure AD join. So there is a separate sequence of workflow that happens there. So basically, imagine your computer has to talk to your cloud resources. Also, it has to talk to the on-premise resources. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So for cloud resources authentication, there's something called as a PRT. There's something called as PRT token that will get assigned. Okay, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, and also for the client, for on-premise, there is something called Kerberos authentication that happen. I'll talk about these together. Okay, there is this nice visualized slide that I have, which will tell you how the authentication happens in the cloud, how the authentication happens with the on-premise. When it comes to co-management, okay, like integrating SCCM with Intune. So what will happen is, so there's something called as Azure AD connector. Okay, so all your on-premise. So once your on-premise AD and your Azure AD is synced, that will become your hybrid Azure AD. Okay, so that is done in the AD level, not at the SCCM level. Okay, and later we will be using the information provided in the Azure AD to link the co-management. But in the class, I'm not going to teach SCCM here or the co-management part in depth, but I'll be mostly concentrating on the Intune side. There only the load shifting happens, right? In SCCM and Intune, only the load shifting happens. If you keep your load towards Intune, what all activities you will do, those things we will see here. Okay.
And,
you getting the point?
Yeah. So in general, I'm asking about, like, after getting trained with Intune, how the career boost up will happen with Intune, because I'm a system administrator.
What's happening is, see, I do when we start recruiting, right? Most of the time, people are looking for only basics of Intune. Nobody's looking at advanced level. So if you're good at the expectation is very simple. Expert in SCCM, starting knowledge in Intune. So what is starting knowledge in Intune? Should have done on one autopilot project. Okay, should have worked in at least application deployments, or should have understood about configuration policies or compliance policies. So much if they know, then that guy knows it. Simple as that.
Okay. And in general, talking about the operating system deployment.
So because this come again.
Voice breaking. Sorry.
Hello. Yeah, tell me, Srikanth, what was it? Operating system deployment?
No. The systematic way of doing operating system deployment is through SCCM or integrating MDT and all for the workstation.
Here you don't call it as operating system deployment. Here we don't call it as operating system deployment. We call it as autopilot. No, it is not similar way of doing operating system deployment as in your bare metal machine. Here the prerequisite is operating system should be installed in the bare metal machine. Okay, but when you do an autopilot, the company policies and compliances will go into it. Okay, so it is not actually a image installation. Image should be already installed on the end user machine. Okay, I'll talk about those workflows later. Okay,
sure.
Very detailed I will tell, because I have a lot of autopilot projects I'm working on. So I'll tell you all the pain points, experiences that I'm having, all SCCM related things, challenges, product limitations. I'll tell you a lot of things, guys. Not to scare you, but yes, I'll tell you a lot of things. Okay. We'll go ahead tomorrow. That's it for today. If you guys have any questions, please shoot those questions in the WhatsApp as well. I'll prepare something and tell you, tell those answers in the class as well, or we'll try to see it practically as well. Okay.
Kishore, is this daily session? Are you going to share through the email? Recording session?
This is the recording session will be shared in WhatsApp. So I have one WhatsApp group for the class. All my enrolled students will be part of the WhatsApp. So I'll be sharing the materials, links, recordings, everything in that WhatsApp group. Okay.
That will be mapped via email or WhatsApp?
It will be through WhatsApp as of now, because that is more easy for me. Emails I don't use much.
Okay.
So
because I always use WhatsApp. Right?
You have.
You can actually take it from there and put to your email as well. No problem.
That can be accessed. Or is it okay? Okay, Kishore.
You can send it to your email from your WhatsApp. No problem.
Yeah. I'll talk to you. Means like in this. Yeah. One-to-one.
Okay. Yeah. That's it for today. If you guys have any questions, please do ask me in the next session or WhatsApp. Okay. Anytime, any question is welcome. Intune is always evolving. Keep an eye out for the latest features that come. And if you guys find some feature interesting, please do let me know. Okay, so that I could research more on it as well. Okay.
So the classes like Saturday and Sunday, or how it's going?
For now, it is going to be only on Saturday, Sunday, since offices have been opened. I will not have the time as of now. So that's why I made this class only for the weekend batch. Okay.
So and I have one more question. Like before you said that it's only a pre-imaged machine only we can enroll through this one. So then why there is a we are requesting from companies like hardware hash value and for the autopiloting. So because we are starting a to implement the autopilot in my company. So initially,
I'll tell you the workflow. Okay, what happens? Okay, you're able to see my screen, right? So this obviously we'll go very deep into it later. But since you asked on your company's doing it, so what happens is, see here we have something called as devices. First, what will happen? You will take the hardware hash ID from the end user machine, or you can take it from your SCCM report as well. Then you can upload it here. Okay. Once you import it here, okay, we'll create something called as configuration profile. So if you come here, if you come to devices, enroll devices. So we be something called as deployment profiles will create, and this deployment profile will get assigned to your device. Okay. Then after once it is assigned, only your autopilot will start. So configuring this, planning this, the checklist and everything I'll give you. Okay, so that you could decide on that. So what is the point of enabling the hardware hash ID is your machine will know that it has to contact this tenant only.
Okay.
That is one thing. Okay, so that is one of the main reasons why we upload the hash IDs. Okay. Yes. And I try to read as much as possible on the Azure AD side as well. Okay, you need not be an expert, because you might be working with the AD team closely. So at that point in time, if you want some requests to be done from them, you should have the right set of questions should be formed and sent to them. That is fine. Okay. And in case you are having any problems within your production environment, I'm reachable. You know to call me, right?
Yeah, I will let you know. I will ask your assistance.
Yeah. And you will there are so many things that Microsoft has limitations. There is no public records for it. Okay, there are 2 releases as well. So so most of the problems that you are facing for each and every version, try to find an alternative workaround using some scripting or an automation. Because today, when I'm doing a lot of my Intune autopilot projects, due to product limitations, we are doing a lot of scripting, so that we could try to give the same end user experience what they had before with SCCM. So that is the ground level reality that's happening. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, I'll tell you about all those things as well. When we do that, when I touch that particular topic, I'll tell you about all those things. Okay. And we'll have a slightly longer session from next week. Okay. Tomorrow I'll be doing enrollment methods. Okay, and different types of joins that will happen within the Intune. Okay. Yeah. See you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.